Hello everyone, I'm Irshad Danish, co-chair of GNR Stakeholders Group, chairperson of Sun Civil Society Network, and senior advocacy advisor for Asia at Nutrition International. Today I will be monitoring our discussion. On behalf of Sun Movement and Global Nutrition Report, I extend a warm welcome to all nutrition commitment makers and supporters joining us for today's learning webinar on progress reporting on nutrition commitments. The purpose of today's webinar is to discuss the overall progress reporting process of nutrition commitments and address any question you may have. Before we dive in, I would like to share a few housekeeping items. Please introduce yourself in the chat box with your name, organization, and country. Please remain muted during the presentation, and unless you have been invited to speak, language interpretation is available in French and Spanish by checking the interpretation box at the bottom of your screen. Please select your preferred language option, and this meeting will be recorded and material will be shared after the webinar. The last item on today's agenda is a moderated question and answer session. We have already received a number of questions, and we encourage you to ask more through the Q&A option, which is available in Zoom. While we will do our best to address as many questions as possible during the webinar, please understand that we may not be able to cover all of them. Rest assured, any unanswered questions will be addressed via email or included in the FAQ list. I'm delighted to introduce our distinguished speakers who are joining us today. We are honored to have Mr. Brieuc Pon, Special Envoy for Government of France for Nutrition and Secretary General of N4G Summit Paris with us. Shivani Ghosh is a co-chair of Global Nutrition Report, independent expert group, and she also serves as the director of Feed the Future Food System for Nutrition Innovation and Research Associate Professor at Friedman School of Nutrition Science and Policy at Tufts University. Dr. Giacomo Zanillo is another co-chair of GNR, Independent Expert Group, and a professor in food economics and health at the University of Reading. And lastly, we are joined by Carrie Hubble Melgaro, the GNR program lead and nutrition lead at GNR and PATH. And we have a packed agenda ahead of us. So we will begin with the opening remarks and overview of commitment progress tracking, followed by discussion of commitment common questions that GNR team has received. And lastly, we will conclude with our moderated Q&A session. Without further delay, I would like to invite Mr. Brieuc Pon to deliver the opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Buenas tardes, buenos días a todos. Bonjour à tous. Salam alaikum. This is Brieuc Pon speaking from Paris. Thank you very much for having me. For those who don't know, I am the special envoy of the French Minister of Foreign Affairs for nutrition, and also I have the honor of being Secretary General of the next N4G summit, which will take place in Paris on 27 and 28 March 25. And I'd like to thank Global Nutrition Report and Scaling Up Nutrition Movement for inviting me to present our vision for N4G. First, I would like to recall France's support to Global Nutrition Report and the tools that were developed, both the historical report, but also the Nutrition Accountability Framework, or known as well as NAF Tracker. The work of GNR and NAF will be key for N4G Paris, and let me explain why. That's because it's always obvious, always useful to reassert it. N4G's credibility will build upon its accountability, and that means its continuity will also build upon its credibility. I was in Abidjan in Côte d'Ivoire a couple of weeks ago, and I had the chance to meet West and Central African Sun country members. There was also one fellow from Madagascar, and they all strongly emphasized on their wish to have more and better accountability. So we need to hear their voices. They deserve to be heard. We are a bottom-up movement, and they need to be heard. Second, one of my too many ambitions for N4G is to bring a qualitative heritage to the summit. N4G is not all about money. We know that there is a resource availability issue as we speak. We are in a different context from compared to Tokyo 21. I was at the WFP in Rome yesterday presenting this vision, and I told them Tokyo didn't really raise the bar very high. It set it astronomically high. It gathered a lot of commitments, financial commitments, 42.6 billion US dollars. That amounts to a quarter of world public aid. And that was in 21. Right now in 2024, if you look at the context, there's trouble. There's a lot of trouble because first of all, there's been a terrible, unprecedented colonialist aggression war of Russia against Ukraine that has unleashed financial trends that are actually hurting the capacity of sovereign donors to contribute to causes such as N4G. And when I travel to capitals to ask for contributions, I can really feel that there is financial resource scarcity, and that is a matter of concern for me. So we need to ensure that the commitments made are, in terms of quality, really important, serious. We know that quantity may not be there, even if we have some ideas about stones that may have left being unturned in the past, in particular among development banks, which we need to engage more, and they need to engage with the issue of nutrition more. And that is a field that is important for development and profitable and effective for development banks, the field of nutrition. We all know that. But we need to look at this in a realistic way. And the best way to make sure the commitments are, we deliver in terms of commitments, is that we look at quality, and hence the importance of accountability. We also need to affirm our collective commitment to improve the reporting. There I have to pause and think about my team here in Paris, who keeps complaining about how hard it is to account for nutrition. Is it nutrition specific, or is this stuff nutrition sensitive? How much should I count for this project? Like 25, 150, 40, etc. So that's always a bit tricky, and we need, I believe, a methodology and agreement on norms and standards, and the way we evaluate we evaluate the impact of our actions. And this is a huge challenge. But we have tools. There's, for instance, the OECD Nutrition Policymaker. We have to use it more and better. If we improve the quality of scoring, then the reporting based on it will be more accurate. Finally, I would like to add that it will also be paramount to help and support countries that made commitments in Tokyo and who are right now facing difficulties to analyze commitments in order for them to be able not only to report, but also to base their next commitments on up-to-date analysis. In that regard, I take the opportunity to commend the EU4Sun project, which is funded by the European Commission, and that includes coordinating the support to African countries, Central American countries soon, in analyzing the commitments they made in Tokyo and help them formulate new ones. So N4G France will be a success if it leads to smarter commitments that we'll be able to track, that we will be able to track and follow them. It's exciting. It's a bit scary sometimes to climb up that mountain because people tend to forget that below the summits, there's always a mountain, and we are climbing that mountain with you people, the international nutrition community, as a long mountaineers ropes all together, and I'm happy to count on your mobilization. N4G has no chance at all to be a success without your mobilization. We need you to beat the drum. We need you to go after governments, go after pledges. We need governments to deliver, and we collectively need to make people aware among governments, among public opinions, that nutrition development policy is a policy that works, that delivers, that can change people's lives, and that gives a lot of energy to our mobilization. So my take-home message today for you is then commit for N4G Paris, but commit smartly, and we can change the world. Let me thank you for your attention, and I wish you all a very fruitful webinar. Merci beaucoup. Muchas gracias. Shukran.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pon, for your enlightening remarks. We deeply appreciate the Government of France leadership in hosting the Paris N4G Summit. We stand ready to offer you support to the Government of France wherever it is needed. GNR, Sun Civil Society Network, my own organization, Nutrition International, and all partners who are present in this webinar. We firmly believe that transparency is the key to accountability, and together we share the responsibility to contribute by reporting on our commitment. Through this reporting process, we will have the data necessary to celebrate our progress and identify any gaps. This information is crucial for directing our efforts and resources to where they are most needed. Once again, thank you, sir. We eagerly anticipate the opportunity to assist you, your efforts in making the meaningful stride toward the better nutrition outcome. Thanks. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Giacomo to walk us through the commitment progress tracking process. Dr. Giacomo, over to you.
Thank you very much, Danish, and thank you very much to everyone that is attending this seminar. So what I would like to do for the next few minutes is provide an overview of the commitment progress tracking within the NAF platform. It's just an overview in a way that then will be easier when we discuss some of the questions, and also provide a little bit of signposting for the resources that are currently available to support the commitment makers. So we are talking about commitment progress reporting within the Nutrition Accountability Framework. This platform was launched in 2021 and was the first independent and comprehensive platform for registering smart nutrition commitment and monitor nutrition action. We are very much into the phase of monitoring nutrition action at the moment, and the platform will support commitment makers in doing so. The platform was launched at the Tokyo Summit, and around 200 commitment makers submitted their commitments for a total of around 400 commitment and 900 commitment goals that are spanning 84 countries. In the next slide, we can see how a key component of the NAF is the NAF tracker. The NAF tracker is that part of the NAF in which all the commitments are published and in which everyone can look at the commitment as well as downloading the data. Commitment can be searched through different criteria, and the data can also be downloaded for everyone to have access to. The NAF tracker is also the place in which the progress will be published. For the past few weeks, the GNR published a series of resources, which we can see in the following slides, to support the progress reporting for the commitment makers. The platform allows the progress reporting to submitted online, but we provide a series of PDF documents that include the form, so commitment maker can have access to the information that are asked in advance. Those are translated in English, French, and Spanish. In the next slide, we also see how we put online a how-to guide in which we we provide an overview of all the questions and information that are required in the survey, and we provide a detailed instruction and clarification on each of those questions. Again, the document is translated in English, French, and Spanish as well. More recently, a week ago or so, we also published a how-to video that is available online on YouTube. And the text and the voice can be translated in multiple languages as well. So this is a kind of a quick overview of all the different resources that so far the GNR has put online to support the commitment makers in making their report. And hopefully this webinar will also answer some of the questions that we have received and some of the questions that you might have. I will get back to Danish to introduce the next section.
Thank you, Dr. Giacomo, for explaining the reporting process. And in fact, we have received a number of questions. Dr. Shivani, you and Carrie will be responding to these questions. So let's start with you. And first question is, how do I submit our progress report?
Yes, so as I mentioned, the NAF, so the online platform, is the place in which commitment makers can submit their progress report. So commitment makers will need to log in into the NAF through the ID, which usually is an email address, and the password that was used when the commitment was registered. Once you log in, commitment maker login, there is an option to provide an alternative email address in case there are questions from the GNR. Then for each of the commitment and for each of the commitment goal, you will see a link that says submit progress. So the progress will need to be submitted for each commitment goal. So if a commitment, for example, has 3 commitment goals, 3 progress reports will need to be submitted, 1 for each commitment goal. So the platform is designed in a way that for each commitment goal, there is a link, and following that link, is you will have access to the progress report survey specific for that commitment goal. The platform is the only way in which the commitment progress can be reported. And to support the commitment makers, we provided a series of guide, which I provided a quick overview earlier on. So we have the survey, offline survey in PDF form. We have an instruction guide, and we have also a video that shows the different steps to submit a progress. Those resources are not in English, but are also translated in Spanish and in French. While providing these resources give commitment maker support in how they submitted their progress report, and those are in different languages, we appreciate if the commitment progress is submitted in English, so we can better communicate, but also we make sure that we receive the information as you would like, rather than the GNR translating the information, which could add some inconsistencies. So this is a little bit the very first step on how to submit a progress report.
Thank you, Dr. Giacomo. We have other question as well. So second question is, can stakeholders submit progress beyond the deadline?
Yeah, so this is something that we have been discussing. So the current deadline for submission of the progress is 14th of June. This is an extension to the original deadline because we appreciate that commitment maker will needed a little bit more time to collect all the informations. At the same time, it allows us to consolidate the guide, like the video, to this webinar. So hopefully we are providing commitment maker more support if this is needed. While the deadline of the 14th of June is critical for the GNR to be able to assess the progress and to compile the documentation that will be shared with the French Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs and other stakeholders, we do allow for later submission to be reported in the NAF, although they might not be included in the report that we will produce to share with the stakeholders. We also encourage a commitment maker to communicate with the GNR if there is any question, or in case they think they wouldn't meet the timeline. We want to be as flexible as we can within the constraints that require the team at the GNR to process the commitment progress survey that have been submitted. But we want to be as flexible as possible. So in case you think you cannot meet the deadline, we appreciate to get in touch with the GNR. You can find the email in the slide here, and we will try to be as flexible to allow later submission as much as we can.
Thank you. So next question is, how many times do we need to fill out this survey? Why have our goal identification numbers changed?
Yeah, so this is I kind of answer the first part of this question in my previous question. So the progress reporting is at goal level. So the survey needs to be filled for each commitment goal. So hopefully the platform is clear enough that guide the commitment maker in doing so. But it's important here to remember that if a commitment has, for example, 3 commitment goals, there will be 3 commitment progress commitment survey to be filled. There might be situation in which the order of the commitment goal have changed compared to the original submission. This is likely to happen because during the verification process, which was undertaken by the GNR late 2022 and early 2023, in which they communicate with commitment makers to identify areas that could improve the commitment. And that might have changed the order of the commitment goal. So this is not, it will not have any effect in the way in which we assess the commitment, nor the way in which the progress survey needs to be submitted. The important is to report the progress based on the goal title rather than a number. So that is a clear identification of which goal we are talking about.
Another question, Dr. Jacquemont. What do we do if we have trouble calculating something to report progress?
Yeah, so this is, we recognize that having data to compute progress can be challenging, but also we appreciate that it's the only way in which we have to actually assess the progress of a commitment, making sure that we are highlighting the positive progresses that we have in the commitments. So in here, in the slide, you can find a couple of examples of 2 different situations that we encounter. So commitment maker that approach the GNR with this situation and could be of interest of other commitment makers. So the idea here is try to do the best you can with the information that is available at the time. So we know that the progress might not be measured, quantified, maybe because it can be linked to a survey that are out of control on when they are done. For example, the demographic health surveys or the multiple indicator cluster surveys, if we talk about national level impact, or other data that might not be available at the time of the progress. So the best really that can be done is what we are hoping to get at the moment. So in certain situation might be trying to make sure that also you explain how the data came through. And in a situation in which really no data is available, that there is any way that at the time the progress can be assessed, we do know that there might be situation as such, and the survey form allow to explain why it was the case. And there will be occasion in the future when the GNR will approach again a commitment maker for the next round of progress, in which hopefully data will be available by then.
Thank you, Dr. Jacquemont, for detailed answers. Now I would request Dr. Shivani to respond few questions. Dr. Shivani, are you ready?
Yes, absolutely. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, very well, loud and clear. So first question for you is, we helped our client prepare their commitment to submit into the NAP and would like to log into their account to help them to report in. So what would be the process?
Yeah, I think it definitely the information of login is usually confidential. So the client would obviously need to go in themselves, and they can definitely receive support from the NAF Global Nutrition team. So I think the idea is that we have to keep confidentiality, and therefore we would suggest that you have the client reach out to the NAF email address if they want to reset it and have you become the primary proxy for that account. So I think that there are some data confidentiality laws in place, which is why we would suggest that you support the client in resetting passwords and or resetting who should be the primary proxy for that account.
Fine. And the second question is, what if we are already using other tools for assessing our progress?
Yes, I think this is a very important question that has come up quite a bit. I just want to sort of highlight the fact that the Nutrition Accountability Framework, or what we call as the NAF, is what we're hoping is a consolidation of commitments that have been made under the N4G summit, but also that can be made outside the summit. And obviously you can have other opportunities to report. What we would suggest is that there is an option when you are reporting your progress to provide information that you are reporting into other tools. Convergence is very critical. And I know that our team on the NAF and at GNR are really trying to make sure that we work across all stakeholder groups so that there isn't a feeling of duplication of efforts. So I think that's one thing we do understand, and it's very, very critical for us to make sure that we're not making people respond to provide the same information to different fora. So we're definitely working with the entire community that does this kind of accountability reporting. The other thing I want to highlight that, for me, I've been working with the N4G tracker data, which some of you may know was the previous iteration of the NAF that was launched in the 2013 N4G summit. And what we realized very quickly as a community was that the tracking using the N4G tracker could go only so far, and that we needed something that was systematized and that was clear. It is more complex because we want to track commitments and give really robust evidence and data to policymakers. And so it comes across a very daunting exercise, but every step that each one of us takes in getting the NAF reporting accurate is going to allow us to give really robust evidence and data to the government of France in the next summit on our true progress, if you will. The last thing I want to say also is that the NAF was originated from the collective calls that emerged just prior to the previous N4G summit from the government of Japan on having a very a SMART, which is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound set of commitments. So that's why it sounds very daunting, but please understand that the NAF is meant for us to be able to have a much, much stronger set of data to drive better decisions in nutrition.
Thank you. We have another interesting question. Will responses be posted publicly? What about difficult things like challenges?
Yes, the underpinning or the ethos of this kind of commitment reporting and tracking of progress is that it has to be public, transparent. But we also do understand that there are certain considerations or some situations where privacy is required, where the stakeholder will want to make sure that whatever is being presented is not misinterpreted. So we understand that we are putting out a survey that is very sort of quantitative, but there are nuances to the whole process. In terms of reporting into the progress, what we suggest for each stakeholder is if you have barriers or challenges, you should take this opportunity to share them with the broader community because it is a learning, it is a learning opportunity for all of us. But if you find that that is just something that is too critical and cannot be shared, you should probably not put that in the progress report. But if you want to sort of highlight that to the GNR team, is that this is one of the reasons why we haven't shifted or made progress, then you can email privately to inform the GNR team. So I think it's really, really important to know that nothing gets put publicly unless the stakeholder has agreed to put it publicly. Because again, as I said in an earlier slide, that this data confidentiality is a very, very critical issue, and we need to make sure that we're stewards of confidentiality. The last thing, I actually wanted to say one more thing, but I'm sorry, Danish, I've forgotten. So if I come back to it, I'll talk about it in the next slide. So back to you.
So thank you. And yeah, another question is, if a commitment maker has reached their target, do they need to continue tracking or reporting? What is the forward-looking reporting schedule?
Yes. So just to kind of, in a nutshell, the way, and I think Giacomo has really clearly outlined this, that each stakeholder can have multiple commitments. Within that, you can have multiple goals. And so until, you might have achieved 1 out of the 4 goals you have posted as your targets. And so until all of those goals are achieved, you're going to, from a forward-looking perspective, will receive the GNR requests to report progress. Once a goal has been achieved, then it'll be basically, you don't have to report against it. Unless, of course, you decide that, let's say you've achieved a goal for anemia reduction, but you would want to continue focusing on anemia reduction activities, and you make a new commitment or a new commitment goal within that commitment, then you would be asked to report on that new goal. We highly encourage a sort of a more dynamic process, so you're not sort of static and only focused on the commitments that were made in the NAF just after or prior to the N4G summit in Tokyo. So keep in mind that you might be doing things today which are very new and that have not been registered in the NAF, but you are most welcome to register in the NAF. The last thing, actually, Danish, I remembered what I wanted to say from a privacy perspective. The GNR will always make sure that the stakeholder is absolutely comfortable on what is being presented publicly. So that kind of interaction has to happen so that we're not actually posting things that will make a stakeholder uncomfortable. Back to you, Danish.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shivani, for excellent answers. And I'm also clear on few points. When I was actually reporting progress of Sun Civil Society Network Asia, so I had few questions and I was in touch with the GNR team. One thing which is not part of, which was not asked, it is from my side. How we can make sure the good progress is celebrated if there are some good examples from some countries. So I think it would be great if we could celebrate and disseminate those case studies to motivate others.
Danish, do you mind if I chime in on that for a moment? I do think that I'd like to let the community know that the GNR does have a thematic report, and these kind of achievements and successes can and will be highlighted. We're also really trying to work hard to sort of post out opportunities to have blogs. So it's not just, the NAF is one tool of the GNR. We have other activities that we hope that the successes of the NAF can be celebrated in.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shivani. And now I would request Carrie to respond some technical questions. And I hope, Carrie, you are ready?
Yes, sir.
Great. First question is, I cannot log into my NAF account, or I do not see the ability to report on my organization commitments, or our contact has changed.
Great. So there are a lot of words on the slide. So just to say, the short message is, if you have any challenges, please email us at naf@globalnutritionreport.org. For example, if you don't remember what email address was used for your organization to register the account, or if you have forgotten your password. So please just email us if you have any problems or challenges. If you do log in, but you don't see the opportunity to report progress, you might not be the primary user for your organization on the account. We have a recommendation we have been making lately. If you are making a transition to a different person on your team to be responsible, you might want to use an institutional email box. Colleagues at a UN agency just yesterday told us that they would like to switch over to nutrition at their organization as their login. So that's a recommendation we have. Historically, I think those of us who have tracked commitments in the past know quite well that turnover at organizations is a big reason why there might be non-response. So please just email us if there's any challenge, if you don't know who it was from your organization who had been doing the reporting in the past, and we can help. If you know specifically you want to make a change, the information that's on the screen is the information that we would want emailed to us so that we could help you. The first name, the last name, the role of the person. And we definitely need the consent. This goes back to what Shivani was talking about, is the consent of the potential user. So if I, for example, say, oh, Danish is going to be the one reporting for us, then GNR will write back to Danish and say, Danish, do you agree that we can email you with these questions and email you instructions for reporting? So once we make a switch, it does take a few days. We will help you to make the switch over, and then you would use the forgot password feature for setting up Danish. Once he says yes, he will report in for me. Also, just to note, if you have colleagues who you would like to know what's happening at the GNR, you could ask them to join our regular email list so that they would know about things that are happening. I hope I've answered the question.
Yeah, it was very much clear. And let me add another scenario. Usually we have a lot of interaction with government people at country level, civil society actually working closely with some focal points, and transfer and posting is common phenomena at country level. When government change, so person is also assigned to another duty. So we have noticed one person actually made pledge on behalf of government, and then he was transferred to another ministry, and the other people are not aware that they have pledged something. So in that case, it would be great if civil society and other partners, UN and other partners at country level, they could actually follow up with the relevant government officials and inform them. And even they can connect them with the previous counterpart. Next question: what if we are already using? Sorry, this is the other question. sorry for confusion.
Okay.
Does
Danish, can I just tag in on the story you just told?
Yeah, sure.
We
please.
have a story like that from a country in southern Eastern Africa that we had 4 different people write to us from UN agencies, a consulting firm, and collectively they helped us get in touch with the right people. And yesterday we celebrated that person has actually reported their progress. And so, yes, it takes the whole community getting together to help, especially when there are organizations that the posts or the roles change often. Okay, back to you, Danish. Sorry.
Great. We have another question. Does the survey save my progress if I have not finished it?
So we suggest that you, when you start a goal, that you go ahead and finish reporting for that goal in one sitting. After you report that goal, go get your coffee, take a break, whatever it is you need to do. The form does not consistently save while in progress. There would be a way to log in on the back end and get a copy, but it is cumbersome. And so we recommend that you just go ahead and submit the progress for one goal, and then take your break, and then go do the next goal later and finish that one before you get up from your chair. To let you know, there are all of those tools online that Giacomo was mentioning. So if you want to download the guide, or you want to download a paper copy of the form, fill it out on paper first, and then go log in and submit, then that hopefully would help as well. But yes, if you could please try to finish each goal in one sitting before you take a break to do another one. Thank you.
So let me share my experience actually, how I actually completed this survey. Actually, I had a downloaded form, and I actually filled that one, and then I actually copied and pasted in the online survey. So that was really helpful. Yeah. Third question. I have made an error in my submission. Can I adjust the answer after I have submitted?
Yes. So as Shivani was talking about, that if, for example, you said something that you did not mean to say, there's a challenge you did not want to actually put in writing, you could just email us at naf@globalnutritionreport.org. Tell us your name, the name of your organization, and the title of the commitment. We don't need a goal number or something like that, submission number. Just give us the title of the commitment. We will find that in our system, and we will create a link that we will share with you so that you can edit your response. At first, we were a little concerned about doing this, but really we haven't had that many people ask, and it hasn't been burdensome at all on us. It's been very easy for us to do. So if you've made a mistake, please do just get in touch. If we do give you a link to directly edit your submission, please don't share that link with anyone else, because they could by mistake edit your submission. And note that anything that you change in the form in that link, if we give you one, automatically overwrites the original submission. So make sure you just change only what you mean to change before you submit the second time.
Thank you, Carrie. And now we are receiving some other questions from participants. And let me check. Give me a few seconds. Well, so we have first question. Can you please share a presentation and recording? So Carrie, I think you are the best person to respond.
Sure. Yes, we absolutely will be sharing the recording and the slides, and perhaps most useful, although everyone will want to hear Brooke Pont's presentation again and again, most useful, we will actually be making a frequently asked questions that we will put on our website, which summarizes the Q&A and shares the questions that we have received so far. So we will be sending that around next week as well.
Great. And we have another question. I think Dr. Giacomo can respond to that question. The question is, should the progress reporting be broken down by year? For example, status in 2021, 22, and 2023. Dr. Giacomo.
Yeah, very good question. The answer is it depends on the wording of the commitment. If the commitment goal is supposed to be annualized or meant to be reported every year, yes, we would appreciate having all the different year and not just the latest one if they are available. But if the commitment is cumulative, for example, we are aiming to do something by 2025, for example, we don't need to have all the intermediate data points.
Great. Very clear. And another question is this reporting only for commitments made in Tokyo, or can we report on commitments from 2017 Milan Summit? And I'm not sure who can respond. So
I think
yeah.
I'm happy to, Danish. I indicated that I would answer this. So just because, I've been working with the N4G tracker that tracked commitments through the 2017 N4G summits. So, and I know this is coming from Emma. Emma, the thing is that the NAF registered only new commitments starting from the Tokyo summit, sorry. And what I would suggest is if there are pending and outstanding commitments from your constituency or your group for 2017, that maybe you reach out to the GNR, because the last progress tracking that was done on those commitments was in 2021. So the intent is that the NAF is being used for all new commitments, but we are aware of the fact that there might be some commitments that are continuing from the previous summits. So maybe I would suggest that you reach out so that we can come up with a way for you to maybe register those ongoing commitments into the NAF.
Thank you, Dr. Shivani. And we have another question for you. That is, could the GNR publication make the amounts of the commitment goals visible even once the commitments are reached?
Right. So yeah, this is, I know, from Lucille. So Lucille, the way this works is that on the online, on the website, you're going to see by individual commitment maker what the progress is, which is why you'll probably see on target or in process, etc. Different kind of classifications. What we do then is, as part of our reporting, after all the data is collected, we do descriptive analyses, and we pool the data to make comparisons of by region, by the type of commitment, whether the commitment is on a specific type of activity versus another, or a specific nutrition target or another. We do that descriptive analyses across all the commitments and all commitment goals and stakeholders. And this usually gets published as a separate brief, or it gets included in our thematic report. As you all may all know, that the GNR also produces, usually biannually, a thematic report on really critical issues that are important for nutrition and food policy. So yes, so this does happen, but it may not be particularly on the website immediately after progress tracking happens.
Thank you. Dr. Giacomo, we have a question for you, really interesting question, which is, what is the significance of the June 14 deadline? And if we have an early N4G 2025 commitment to make, would you advise that we record that in the DAP before June 14, or wait for the next deadline?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So the deadline of June 14 is for the progress of the commitment that have been already registered in the NAF. As Shivani was mentioning, the NAF is an open platform in which at any given time, everyone can submit commitments. However, for the commitment linked to a summit, like the 2025 N4G, there will be potentially a slightly different form. The government of France, together with different stakeholders, will advise on that. So we are expecting the form with the documentation to be ready towards the end of the year. So for any commitment linked to the France summit, we need to wait that the government of France will open the window for the new commitments.
Thank you, Dr. Giacomo. Now we have a bit different question, difficult question. So you or Dr. Shivani, both of you can actually respond. So the question is, I would like to find out if there are funding sources for these commitments.
Yeah, Shivani?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, you know what? I would love to say yes, there is, but the reality, Simon, is that funding often is linked to existing grants and projects. So and also I just want to clarify that the commitments that are often made are made by different stakeholder groups, which may or may not have the financing in place. So in essence, the answer is, do we have it? No. Are there opportunities out there? Probably. But keeping in mind that these commitments are often made with existing projects that are already technically funded. So I'm not giving you a straight answer because I don't have one for you, but I just want you to know we appreciate your question.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shivani and Dr. Giacomo. We have only 4 minutes and we have other questions as well. Maybe we can take one and other can be actually answered through email or can be included in FAQs. Question, we have been contacted by GNR several times since we first submitted our goals into the NAF, but is this the first time we are reporting progress since registering in the NAF?
Maybe I can give a quick answer. I'm also aware of the timing. So yes, so this is the very first time that the commitment makers that have been submitted through the NAF are invited to assess the progress.
Great. Thank you for a brief answer. So we can take, I think, 1 or 2 more questions. We have around 3-4 minutes. The question is, will I receive a copy of responses after submission? Will you be allowing commitment makers to check their information before posting?
Yes, so as Shibani was mentioning when she was talking about the issues around data, around the confidentiality, the GNR will approach each commitment maker with the information that will be published in the tracker in the NAF. And yeah, and that I understand there was a practice also done previously with the previous N4Gs.
Thank you, Dr. Giacomo, Dr. Shivani, for detailed answers. And we have only 2 minutes. So I think we are going toward conclusion. I would like to thank again to speaker as well as participants for excellent questions. And please do not hesitate to reach out to GNR team if you have any additional questions. A recording of this webinar and other resources will be shared with you via email after this webinar. And yeah, let's conclude the webinar. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you very much.